Don't you forget about the Porygon episode that we promised. This is Silph Radio, a Pokemon-centered podcast. I'm Nathan K, and with me today
is Justin Addison.
And welcome back to the Secret Room. It has been 39 fucking episodes, I think about 2 years, and 39 episodes ago when we were talking about Team Rocket, we got off on a tangent and we said the next time you come back, we're going to talk about Porygon, and we're going to talk about the Breakfast Club. And that's what's happening today.
Yes, here we go. You've been busy. 39 episodes, goddamn.
You've been busy. I've still been making... There's been 39 episodes.
Right. You haven't been busy enough.
Oh, you're saying I've been busy at making episodes.
Yes.
This is a Pokemon-centered podcast. It's intended for adults and really mature, responsible children. So there's a lot of bad words and controversial thoughts and ideas. So please get your parents' permission and make sure you got your head on straight before you listen.
That's right.
We have no affiliation with Game Freak, Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, or any other affiliates or official Pokemon media. We are a fan production. And we really love the Pokemon universe. Every episode, we pick a different, really specific topic and indulge way more than we have any right or reason to in that very specific topic. So, welcome back, Justin.
Hey, thanks, man.
I miss you. It's also been almost as long since we've actually just hung out for the sake of hanging out.
Which is it's a fucking shame. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's my bad. It's life's bad. And
life.
Today, we're here to talk about Justin's favorite Pokemon.
Yes, my favorite.
It's not your favorite Pokemon.
It's it's definitely one of my favorites, though. Like as a family.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Well, that wasn't what inspired the decision.
No.
It was that it's been almost 50 episodes we've been doing Silph Radio. This is, in a way, I feel like kind of like the end of season 1. It's a 3-year season. That doesn't mean anything. Don't read too deep into it, but the next episode is episode 50, and that's a big episode, and I feel like it's about damn time that we followed up on what we said in episode 10.
Yeah, wow. Congratulations, 50 episodes. That's an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to do 50 more and get them out quicker than 3 years, hopefully. Today we're talking about Porygon.
Yes.
Pokemon National Pokedex number 137. Its Japanese name is... I'm going to say Polygon because I'm not racist. But to be legit, they're the same thing because the letter L and the letter R are the same in Japanese.
You see that a lot in translations for like manga for different animes and stuff too. Like characters' names. Zolo, Zoro, like from One Piece.
And Buruma.
Oh, yep.
Bulma
Yep.
in English. So it's not exactly racist to acknowledge that R and L are the same noise in Japanese language.
Right.
And therefore people getting conditioned to learn English when they haven't differentiated between that tongue movement in their mouth. It's such a natural... You don't think about talking.
Right.
So it's difficult to get that down. And sure, but once it delves into the realm of characters and stereotypes, that's where it gets a little...
Yeah.
That said, so the people translating this game made a deliberate choice to call it Porygon and not Polygon. But then again, maybe it's also because the Pokemon in its early days they were going to have really simple names like Pony and stuff.
Right.
So they decided to differentiate them and give them their own like sort of species names. And its name is Porygon. It's known as Porygon everywhere except China, where it's Lapfang Sao. Or 3D Long, depending on which region of China you live in. And that means Lapfang Sao is Cube Monster, and 3D Long is 3D Dragon.
Interesting. Okay. 3D Dragon.
Go!
That's
Cube Monster.
I'd much rather send out a 3D Dragon.
Go! 3D Dragon. And meanwhile, your Dragonite's like, I'm also in 3 dimensions.
That's pretty much my deal right now. I am the 3D dragon.
Your Charizard's like, never mind.
Missed that boat. Sorry. Rest in peace, Charizard.
It's not dragon type, though. It's normal type. Its species is virtual Pokemon, and it belongs to the mineral egg group, which is very interesting. We don't talk about egg groups a lot on this show. But the mineral egg group is, of course, almost all rock and steel type Pokemon.
Right. Makes some kind of sense though. It's like an inorganic material rock type.
Sure. Oddly enough, a few of the ice type Pokemon that are specifically made of ice are mineral egg group, which is weird because ice is absolutely
It's just water.
Yeah, it's not a mineral.
It's
Then
crystalline.
again, maybe science is just like this is an alternate. This is probably this is an alternate multiverse. It really is. It's not just an alternate universe, but an alternate multiverse.
We know there are several dimensions that mirror one another. Like,
yeah, so maybe their science is built on similar but different foundations because clearly evolution is used differently. One of these days I'd like to have an episode where we delve into what ways does just their basic science and physics differ from our own.
ladies and gentlemen, 39 episodes from today.
Me and Jeff.
We will talk about this. No, we should probably have Jeremy on for that one too, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a necessity.
Yeah. But that sounds good. No, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about how all of those like scientific slight differences. Oh, we shouldn't talk too much about it.
No, let's do it. It's going to be 39
fair
episodes.
enough.
We can talk a little bit about it.
So, we get weird about how they're gauging different types of minerals, but at the same time, like we're already using like a little ball.
Yeah,
and
you know what?
Like 80 feet creatures.
We do the same thing in the real world, though. Peanuts are not nuts. Tomatoes are not vegetables. There's all sorts of things.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's actually way more relevant.
Pteranodons are not dinosaurs.
No.
Pterodactyls, I mean, for the more less dinosaur familiar listeners.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life? You're into Pokemon and you haven't gotten into dinosaurs yet,
Jesus
man?
Christ, catch up, bro. But yeah, so I've been, reading a lot of my comics and stuff, my Marvel comics or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like science doesn't make any sense in these other worlds. So,
but in Pokemon, sometimes it's when you think about it, it's so clear.
It seems like it.
At least in Marvel, they make an attempt to like explain stuff, even though it's usually pseudo-science and comic book bullshit.
Constantly.
They're being like, this is why it works this way. But in this, it's like, no, ice is a mineral in this world.
Just trust us. The whole game, though, is kind of based on like your classifying and like studying.
But it's not just a classification because those are the types of Pokemon that can breed together. Then again, maybe they're just like, yeah, I mean, Porygon's not a mineral. The ice guy's not a mineral, but that seems to be the best thing to call this group.
I mean, they're just applying labels to the groups of Pokemon that feel like getting diggy with each other. Let's face it. It's like the mineral egg group.
It's 2017,
made itself.
Guys.
We can't put that label on it and decide what Pokemon fit into it. They decide for themselves, and we just had to come up with a word that like closely resembled.
Yeah, and Silph Radio we support our LGBTM listeners. M for mineral, yes.
Yeah.
Who are in the mineral egg group.
Yes,
and,
of course.
Yeah, reproduce with other
I'm not mineral sexual, but I will definitely be taking this joke in a bad direction. So, moving right along.
Porygon, let's get into some technical stats so we can get them out of the way. It's 2 foot 7 inches or 0.8 meters.
2.7?
2 foot 7 inches or 0.8 meters. It weighs 80.5 pounds.
Very interesting thing I wanted to touch on.
36.5 kilograms, just for our listeners not even over the pond, but just everywhere but America.
Literally anywhere else, yeah. So weird to me, because I guess it makes sense if it's in this, like, physical plane, but reading a weight for Porygon kind of, like, throws me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's just data.
Yes, it's made of programming code.
So what's the physical...
It is weird. So if you look at a Porygon, it's very polygonal, like early 3D graphics. It seems almost avian to me, like a duck almost. Mm-hmm. Especially since when it grows up, it eventually gets wings. Well, that even grows up when it evolves.
Theoretical.
Yeah, kind of wingish appendages, which I think are more like wings than arms. It's been pointed out that it kind of bears some resemblance to an origami crane.
Yep.
Which I like that because the way when paper's folded, it's geometric. Is that the right? Would geometric apply? Yeah.
Yep.
Like its shapes, and polygons are also. It's pinkish red and blue. The shiny's blue and slightly like a purple tinted white.
I like the shinies for this family.
Definitely one of the cool shinies in my opinion. And in the anime, it's shown to like change its form, like sharpen itself. Using the move sharpen, it actually sharpens its body, or form into a hammer. And in the 3D games, it like disconnects its head and its limbs just when it's chilling. It's like, I'm gonna do some cool stuff now. Hey, look at this. Ooh, now I'm dancing. Like,
hey,
look at this move I learned.
He's a funky Pokemon. That's cool.
It's not a Pokemon move, it's a dance move.
Super effective every time.
And then he puts on his Kanye shades.
Ooh, now he's balling too.
Porygon's the most vaporwave Pokemon.
Oh, fuck you.
But the reason I'm bringing all this up is because it has a height and a weight. And I was thinking, like, maybe the code, maybe that's not Porygon's actual form. I mean, in a way it is, because it's the way your eyes are interpreting it.
It's not its final form at all.
Right? It's made of code. It's actually zeros and ones and programming code. Maybe the programming code actually bends light and like creates a molecular resistance that mimics physicality and hardness. Right. But then why would it have a weight? But then again, isn't that all that matters doing in the first place? Jeremy?
I think you're saying that Porygon is proof that the Pokemon world is the Matrix.
Oh, because the programming code is
programming code can represent like actual mass.
Well, maybe they're able to. Maybe it creates a field with which the programming code is able to exist in, because programming codes exist in a computer. What if you're able to create, for lack of a better word, an ethereal field? I could see them doing something like this on Star Trek, where it's like it's able to
in like Pokemon or in sci-fi, like sort of like that aspect of science
so it exists
fiction.
In this electromagnetic field that contains the code and it's able to move the field so that it's able to move through physical space.
No. That definitely would be the direction I'd actually go in, like in terms of theorizing. But I don't know. To me, it just always made sense.
And what is weight but molecular resistance and gravity? That's what gravity kind of is in a way, right? At least it's related. So yeah.
It's a disruption of like fields, right? Or like not of fields, but a result of a field.
Because of something's mass, and weight is a way to measure the effect of gravity on mass, I guess, when you get technical. Mm-hmm. In our everyday lives, it's a way to measure your mass because we never leave our gravitational field. But if we did, then it would become, in our everyday lives, our concept of weight would change. If we were like, if this was Star Trek and we were constantly going to other planets.
Oh, right. Well, no. Yeah. That's actually total science. The concept of weight changes depending on how close you are to the equator. So
yeah, totally.
I mean, to an extent,
but not in our everyday lives.
Not as great, but
in our everyday lives, it's okay to have weight be synonymous with mass, because it only isn't if you're involved in theorizing scientifically until we reach the day and age when we actually are leaving our gravitational field and in ways that are noticeable. But yeah, so maybe that's what Porygon is this. I think that makes the most sense. And
it's the only. You have to leave it at that, basically. The data itself represents how it affects the world around it.
Yeah, and the electromagnetic field it's made in such a way that the field itself doesn't affect the world at least not in any quantifiable, noticeable way. It doesn't hurt the Pokemon that step into the field or anything.
Right.
It's able to contain data inside it. It gives the data somewhere to exist outside of a computer.
Right.
And it doesn't it doesn't move things with this electromagnetic field.
It's just the way you say that just now, like it gives it like the way it can exist outside of the computer. That kind of just like that simplifies it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's not a big enough leap that we're like theorizing about. I think it is.
Right.
But I like to on Silph Radio find those leaps that are the smallest, that are like, you know what, we are, but I think that is kind of the only way it makes sense, and it makes complete sense with everything we know about it.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Sort of like how we were never told that Pokemon are turned to data when they're in their Pokeball, but I'm okay with making that leap since they're obviously turned to data when they go onto the PC.
That's the thing. That's kind of the stretch for me, though, and where it kind of puts kind of a rut in the entire conversation that we just had. If Porygon is the first man-made Pokemon because it's made out of data in all of these ways we've been discussing, are all Pokemon now originally data-based? Could you put a person in a Pokeball? Are we going too far?
We've been discussing that a lot lately, because I started thinking about it when I started playing Sun and Moon, and the mother was like, I wish we could put our boxes in Pokeballs so we didn't have to move them all. And I'm like,
Right.
Why can't you? I can digitally store my items. I can digitally store my Pokemon. What makes this box different from a potion? What makes my shirt different from a Poké Doll?
Right. Literally.
Or a berry.
Just lacking.
What makes our fruit different from the fruit the Pokemon eat?
I mean, you just don't have a person that realized they could make enough money off of a moving system.
Maybe it's such a delicate art that these technologies are so fine-tuned to the specific things that you are turning to data that it's like we haven't fine-tuned how to turn.
Well, that's kind of a stretch, though. So imagine.
What I'm saying is it's so expensive to do this. Not for people. For people, yeah, but for T-shirts and books and magazines, it would be really expensive to fine-tune the technology to turn it to data. When you could just put that shit in a box and throw it in a moving truck. Pokemon, you need to be able to bring 3 of these beasts with you and collect them and transport them and like all this. So like it's worth the money that they're spending because people are going to buy the Pokeballs to do it. They're going to get the money back. And the convenience is a necessity almost for their way of life.
To a degree, here's what I think though. If it gets that like specific, so we've got the science and we've like broken it all down how to like bring in Silph's potions, or like Silph's super potions. We have that like very specifically fine tuned for just that item. A trainer's out, they're running, they fall, their super potion gets like scraped on the ground and it's got some like extra pebbles in it or something like that, right? Then their like very highly accurate measurements are going to be a little different because the whole item's different.
Whoa. Okay, so I don't know what just happened. The mic stopped recording for about 8 minutes. The computer glitched out.
Woo!
It was very dubious.
Oh.
We lost about 8 minutes of conversation there, and it totally threw us off. So we I don't think we missed too much that was that important. We were talking about how Porygon's code has DRM built into it.
Right.
Mainly. And that led to a side segue about missing no and the physics of reality. And
we just went too deep. There were several times where I was like, I can't keep going.
The trading glitch. And whether the trading glitch exists in universe. And man, so much about things being turned into data. So it has DRM, copy protection DRM. Oh, yeah, and I went on this whole tangent about biological reproduction and how the DRM...
Oh, right, yeah, that was another thing I was happy to, like, not keep going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that it doesn't prevent it from reproducing in the biological sense, because that's very advantageous to a living creature, because that's how we don't die from disease, because that way our immune systems are so varied because we hook up with someone else who has an immune system and create a baby that has a mix of our own, so the diseases can't keep up because everybody just keeps fucking each other and making babies with each other rather than just splitting themselves off.
Yeah. Always use protection, kids.
So there's maybe some ethical considerations, though, to it being copied digitally. Since it's electronic media, it would be so easy to...
Interesting to think, though, that each Porygon is like somehow copyright protected, like in a very specific way. Like who has the copyright to Porygon?
Oh wow, right. Well, it's copy protection.
Copy protection.
It's protection from it being copied, which I guess you're right. That's copyright.
Right.
Yeah, the rights to copy.
Someone wants to avoid.
But I think it might be an ethical thing that they're like, we shouldn't allow somebody to just make tons of copies of this being, this creature that is sentient. Is Porygon sentient? We'll talk about it. Pokemon are sentient, though, in general. So, I mean, Giovanni does it in the original Pocket Monsters manga.
Right, you'd mentioned that. Yep.
The one with Blockhead Clefairy, not Pocket Monsters Special. And I also wondered if you get DRM on your Pokemon
when you put them into the PC.
Yeah. Because you don't want someone could easily hijack that, hack that, and copy them.
Right.
Also, the Pokedex, we talked about how the Pokedex says it can move freely through cyberspace. I think that's where we kind of lost the audio, or where we realized we lost the audio, right?
Right.
That is where we realized we weren't recording. We left off talking about
how Porygon feels. Like, is Porygon more aware when he's in the PC system?
Yeah, is he just like, okay, well, I exist as data, so I'm still conscious and aware.
This is my everyday situation. This is very boring.
Yeah, because I can see all the different Pokemon here in this box because it is a string of ones and zeros. So when it sees a string of ones and zeros, it can probably instantly interpret it and be like, yeah, that's Pikachu. And it can tell the difference between Pikachu when it's animate out in the real world and Pikachu when it's stagnant data. And it's like, this is just boring.
No, well, actually, like, comforting thought, if he exists within that realm on the day-to-day anyways, he probably doesn't sit around in the box when he's been put into a box. He doesn't stay there. He can, like, go do whatever Porygon does when he's existing in the cyberspace, right?
Yeah, maybe there's like a online society of Porygons that are like, yeah, our trainers put us in this box and we're just like, well, hello.
Hey guys.
This is boring. Oh, nice. Hey, you got another Porygon. Hey, yeah, he just deposited
nice
me. Let's go. Where are we?
Well, that's the thing. If the cyberspace is their natural habitat,
so they could leave the box and then they'd all meet up.
Right.
There's like this hidden box that nobody knows how to access that they meet up there, and they're like, God, it's so boring.
They all just kind of like bust around. They do their Porygon thing.
You know how a lot of people think that inside the Pokeballs and inside the PCs are like this heaven for Pokemon?
Yeah.
But we're like, that's dumb. They're probably just turned into data.
I'm a little too cynical for that.
But maybe where that fits into my worldview of Pokemon is if this box exists, which I'm now following the train of logic.
I don't even see it as a box. It's just like they are all like they're doing their natural Porygon thing, which is to just exist in the general cyberspace. But so why would they be in a particular box?
They might see the
they
Pokedex
just go out and travel the waves.
The Pokedex also says it can only act according to its program. So I wonder if they're actually conscious and sentient and have that desire. But regardless, Porygon 2, when we get to Porygon 2, it's said that it has artificial intelligence.
It develops its own like emotions and all sorts of things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it doesn't just act according to its programming. So if you put a Porygon, either way, this box must exist as like the Porygon 2 must have some type of emotional attachment. I can't imagine they don't have emotional attachments with their trainer because I don't want to imagine that world.
That would be nightmarish.
Where there's Pokemon that don't have emotional attachments to their trainers.
It was hard for me to like get my mind around a Porygon having like mass and weight and stuff, but then I was like, oh, I'd be able to give him a hug if he could. So that's okay.
Yeah, so I think it must exist that these Porygon must be like, look, of course we're not just going to sit there. Of course we're going to communicate with each other. And maybe I'm just, going off on this fan theory like it's bullshit. It's not in the text of the game, so it's not real. But maybe there is then a box where they meet, and maybe they would even speculate, this is boring. We're just, sure, we're just existing in our natural environment, but also we've been able to experience that world out there and form relationships with these other Pokemon and our trainers and experience stimulus. So now this stimulus is not enough anymore. I have the ability to learn, therefore I have a thirst to learn, therefore I have a thirst for new stimulus.
So
and maybe we could
natural evolution. Like,
let's figure out a way to tinker with this programming and find a way to bring the other Pokemon in this box. And then the other Pokemon want like this better environment to live in. And maybe there's this secret Pokemon heaven. And they're like, look, we can't tell our trainers about this because they're gonna
Yo, welcome to the team. Guess what? We're friends with a Porygon. Oh, shit.
How many boxes do you have in your PC? Like 21 or something? Rule number 1 of box 22.
Yeah,
whatever it is, like the next box number.
Yeah. That's like, it's where the Porygon bring all the like...
You don't talk about box 37.
Right. That's perfect. So then, speaking of Porygon 2.
Well, that wouldn't work because Pokemon trainers they don't hear their Pokemon speak language. They have a natural connection with their Pokemon. But then I don't think they can read their Pokemon's mind. So they would only know, maybe they'd know that their Pokemon's being shady when it comes down. It's like, you're clearly not telling me something.
Something seems kind of awkward here. Like, I thought we were close, but...
You're glowing. What did you do in the PC?
I've never had you out of the box with Golbat. So like, why are you guys best friends right now?
Right.
What happened? Okay.
All right. So its abilities that it has are either Trace, which changes into the ability of a random opponent.
Yes.
Or Download, which raises either your attack or your special attack, depending on whether your opponent's defense or special defense is weaker.
That's that good special ability.
And then its hidden ability is Analytic, which your move's power is increased by 30% if you do it after the opponent's taken their turn. So if your Porygon's slow.
Which is only a Trick Room sort of thing because Porygons naturally have like a
and what's
higher
Trick Room
speed
do?
Stat. Trick Room is an attack that flips. It will change for the next 5 turns, so the slower Pokemon goes first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then its signature moves are Conversion, which changes its type to one of its own moves, so you can hit double power with that move. Or Conversion 2, when it evolves to Porygon 2, I believe, which changes its type to one which resists the type of the last move you were hit with to give you better protection. And I think that's cool because I forgot about that. And me and Antoine a few episodes back were thinking about how you should be able to change Porygon's type since it's data. You should be able to pick a type
really,
for
you
it.
can.
But in a way you can. And it can modify itself. Like that's... And with us talking about it being in the PC and modifying itself, it can modify data. We were speculating about that. In the anime, it's shown to, like...
When it switches, it actually changes shape and changes form.
Well, no, but what I mean is it's utilized as a worker in the PC system almost. Like modifying data and sorting data and, like maintaining the PC and stuff. So I wonder if the people that created it used it for that purpose in a way,
To have their like Pokemon helper in this realm instead.
Totally.
Interesting.
And let's talk about the people that created Porygon. Let's talk about the creation of Porygon. It's about time.
That is yep.
So, all right, here's something weird. The yellow version Pokedex entry says that Porygon is the only Pokemon people anticipate can fly into space. None has managed the feat yet, however.
Right.
And other Dex entries state that because it doesn't breathe, people are eager to try it out in different environments. And that's interesting. People probably use it to access extreme environments where something will freeze to death. They'd probably use an ice Pokemon. But I don't know, like...
I get where you're going, though. Like, to maybe use them during an underwater battle. Or...
You know what? Yeah, anything I can think of is like there's another Pokemon that can do it, but then Porygon is multi-purpose.
Right.
And also they're like, well, what Pokemon can exist in space? Nothing. But also, it's interesting because Ruby and Sapphire take place at the same time as Red and Blue. So this would have happened... Also, in the Alolan Pokedex, it says that Porygon was invented around 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
So that means it was... When Red went out on his mission, this story of the Gen 1 games, it was very recently created.
Right.
Since Ruby and Sapphire take place at about the same time as Red and Blue... It would have been invented around the time that Deoxys came to Earth, which was before Ruby and Sapphire, and Porygon was invented before Red and Blue. So maybe their color scheme being the same isn't as coincidental as we might think. Again, this might not be authorial intent. Satoshi Tajiri and Ken Sugimori might not have thought of this, but that does not mean that it does not exist in this world, because I think it makes total sense that if they invented it for... It says... The Pokedex said... Oh, no, that's Porygon 2. We'll talk about that in a minute then with Porygon 2. But, yeah.
I don't know that their color scheme are similar, though. But
they are. Red, Deoxys and Porygon, absolutely.
Deoxys is like red.
Porygon
and teal
is
and black. Porygon
usually
is pink,
more pinkish, but
pink and
Porygon
blue.
is also shown as red and blue sometimes. And a darker pink, like a pinkish red.
I'm just a dissenting voice right now.
That's fine.
Okay.
But Deoxys comes from space.
That is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
They people considered using Porygon for
it might be reactionary too. Like we need to find out what's in space because this thing is dangerous.
Right.
And there might be other stuff out there and Did you guys hear about Mewtwo? Word is, these guys created a fucking Mewtwo. Like, I'm thinking 20 years ago. You know what I mean? How old is Mewtwo? We don't know.
Super sketch.
Right?
Like an interesting concept. I will say, though, that I think the way the timeline works out is like Deoxys, we didn't know about him when Porygon was invented.
No, but did Lance, did Bill... Is there an inner circle of people in the know? And did Dr. Fuji? Oh, also, Silph Co. did not make Porygon. There's so many websites that state that Silph Co. made Porygon. There's so many YouTube videos that state that Silph Co. made Porygon. And I don't mean to sound condescending. You guys all rock. I wouldn't go to your websites and watch your YouTube videos if I didn't appreciate the content you created.
Word.
But I need to state this. Silph Co. did not create Porygon.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
The Pokemon Lab created Porygon. You can verify this by going, where is it again? The Silph Co. building. You go to the Silph Co. building, and there are research journals which state that the Pokemon Lab, which is owned by Dr. Fuji, it's on Cinnabar Island, not the Pokemon Mansion where Mewtwo was created, but that's Dr. Fuji was also involved in that. But that was more sketchy. Mr. Fuji, Dr. Fuji, I think it's
Mr. Fuji
from Lavender Town.
Well, hey,
the guy from Lavender Town who runs the orphanage.
Mr. Fuji.
But he was also in the lab he also owned the Pokemon Lab.
Yes.
And or at least funded it and was involved somehow with the Mew and Mewtwo research. And that Pokemon sketchy. Lab is stated in the video games to have created Porygon, and in the Pokedex it says he was created as a result of research.
Right.
So his creation had to do with research that they did, which resulted in them creating him, and also I think they were creating him for research purposes, right?
I mean, they were researching Pokemon. They're using computers to do so.
This is really weird, too, because we know that they created...
There's a conspiracy in here somewhere.
I think we can say that we know that Mr. Fuji was involved with the creation of Mewtwo. We don't explicitly know it from the game's canon as far as... They could say, like, if this was Heroes and they wanted to do stupid background episodes that contradict what you thought you knew, they could do that and be like, he didn't actually create Mew, because we never saw it happen. He never said, I created Mew. But there is far more than enough evidence to make it abundantly clear that he did.
There was evidence that Blaine was involved, right?
Not as much as Dr. Fuji or Mr. Fuji,
no
but
kidding.
Yes. But Blaine is on Cinnabar Island. He's a scientist. It's very reasonable to suspect that he... And there's a photo
I thought there was like
there's
some
a photo
context.
of him with Dr. Fuji, I think. So at the mansion. So it's very... Right. And the mansion is just this mansion that a researcher owned. We don't know who. And it's on Cinnabar, which the Pokemon Lab is also on Cinnabar, and the scientist gym leader is also on Cinnabar.
Right.
And so there's all this weird stuff going on, and they created Porygon there, and there's rumors and a fan theory, which is not... I don't buy into it, but I think it is on the higher end of the spectrum of fan theories that they may have created Ditto at Pokemon Mansion. It's the only place Ditto can be found. Ditto has the same color as Mew, the same height and weight. It can transform into any Pokemon. It can learn any TM or HM. Mew is said to be the mother of any Pokemon and can learn any TM or HM. It seems like they tried to make a Mew, but they couldn't get its form to hold.
Reasonable, and that's how they wound out with... Okay.
But it can make any other form of Pokemon, and if they're making a Porygon and they're making a Pokemon that can make any other form, and then in secret they're cloning Mewtwo, it's really... And maybe Giovanni did... I argued with Brianna that Giovanni in the games had nothing to do with the creation of Mewtwo, but that he just wanted to capture it. Maybe he did have to do with the creation of Mewtwo, and maybe that's why it's so shady that he did kind of fund it in game canon, but it got out, and now he wants to get the thing that he... invested so much money in. We're talking about Mewtwo again.
Now I'm thinking about a lot more than I was anticipating. That's like not too far a stretch, though. I do prefer like the concept of Giovanni where he just like finds out about it through his like clandestine ways and then like wants it.
And I'm on the fence. I don't prefer one or the other. I'm just trying to figure out which one is more, which leap is shorter. That's what I'm trying to figure out with Silph Radio. I'm always trying to figure out what's the shortest leap. I hope that didn't get cut out because we had a whole conversation about I always try to make the shortest leap.
Right. No matter what, the fan theories are going to be like somewhat stretches, but like which is the shortest stretch?
Pretty much the only place you can get a Porygon is at the Game Corner, which is run by Team Rocket. And we talked about how in our when was it? I don't know. It may have been the Erica episode, or it may have been...
Probably the Celadon City episode.
Well, we didn't do a Celadon City episode. We did an Erica episode.
Okay,
but I can't imagine it's cool to sell sentient beings. And I can't imagine. It's not cool to sell sentient beings. What I meant to say is...
Thanks for that.
I can't imagine that it's cool to do it in the Pokemon universe, that they culturally accept it.
Right.
So the Game Corner, I think, was operating on... I've talked about this before, some shady loopholes because it's run by Team Rocket, and they probably found a shady way to like, well, we're not selling them. People are winning them.
Right. We have these offered as prizes.
There's no law against winning a Pokemon.
What is it? Eevee, you can get a Lapras.
Because it's legal to possess a sentient being in the Pokemon universe.
Oh, no.
But it's okay because
really deep
it's consensual. It's not always because you go beat them, but it's a cultural... It's weird. Culture is weird, man. There's things in every culture that we could discuss it on this show and be called xenophobic for discussing it, but there's things in every single culture that are fucked up and weird.
Right.
So there are things in the Pokemon culture that are fucked up and weird, and I'm not endorsing and condoning them, but at the same time, the Pokemon do this because it's part of their cultural, like, how they grow and evolve.
Right.
You know?
They do appreciate it on the same level that, like...
Yeah, and it is agreement. It is more of a friendship than an ownership, but you do legally, I think, as far as legal... The human law is concerned, I think you legally are considered to own them.
Oh my
you know
goodness,
what I mean?
I've never thought of the legality before.
I just don't think it's an owner-slave relationship.
No.
You definitely relate to each other as a teacher and a friend. You know what I mean? And you're helping it learn to fight and battle.
You're both the teachers.
It's like a dojo master. It's much more like that.
If the intro to the anime has taught me anything, we're both teaching each other.
Yes, absolutely. A Zen teacher absolutely learns from his students.
Okay.
Like, you know?
Okay.
But there's still a reason they're the Zen teacher, you know? And I think that that's the type of relationship humankind and Pokemon has, and it's not a condescending one. A Zen teacher should never condescend to his students because there's something entirely natural about learning. There's nothing that makes you better by knowing something you can teach somebody. My math teacher isn't better than me because he can teach me how to figure out the area of a triangle, but I can still learn from him in this. See, that's why to make it about Zen, like they have these hierarchies in Zen when you go to retreats or live at a monastery, they have hierarchies but the thing is, it's always rotating. Nobody is kept in a position of authority for too long, but you'll be the head of the kitchen for a while, and then after a few months, someone else will be the head of the kitchen, and you're not going to be anything but just somebody that meditates and eats and, you know, like lives there for a little while, and then eventually you'll be running the morning sitting sessions and, you know, stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's to keep it, because there's nothing superior about authority, but it is necessary to maintain order in a setting where you need to maintain order, because a bunch of people are living together and they're going to get on each other's nerves. Wow. See, this is all we lost. All we lost was this type of shit.
I'm really happy to have heard that. That totally works for me.
Thank you. What does this have to do with Porygon?
I'm not.
Oh, selling and sentient creatures and the law and ownership and the relationship between Pokemon and trainer.
Okay.
So maybe it was created and utilized by people who weren't trying to sell it. And so that's why this Pokemon is rare. Because they weren't like, I'm not trying to sell this. I'm also not trying to release it into the wild and fuck up the ecosystem. I'm not trying to digitally copy sentient creatures. I've made it to reproduce itself for a reason and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's rare, but then Team Rocket somehow in the black market, because Giovanni's part of the Pokemon League, he has his fingers anywhere he wants, probably got a hold of some Porygons, and maybe even knows how to break the DRM or knows how to do the trading trick, which got cut out our discussion on that.
Or like has some guys that can do it for him.
Yeah, and so he got some Porygons and is giving them away. And currently, I also believe that it's more feudal. I think is that like feudal Japan, like the different towns and settlements have their own governments, and the Pokemon League tries to manage everything that has to do with Pokemon. And so at this point, they're like, fuck, there's nothing we can do about it. But then later, it's not the Team Rocket game corner, but you can still win Pokemon there, can't you? I don't know. It's tricky. But maybe they're reforming it.
I will say this, and like I know it's a total tangential.
Also, wait, real quick. Maybe they're not reforming it, and there's just things in the world currently that they're not reforming that they need to. So maybe it's just realistic that there are problems in the Pokemon world, and it's not a utopia.
Absolutely.
Anyway, go on.
That kind of ties into the point I was going to make. Like we're playing these games from the perspective of a 10-year-old, right? So like we get and we learn as much as they understand or they learn throughout playing the games as a 10-year-old in the world. So like there's obviously all of this stuff happening that might not be referenced or might not be like directly explained that's like happening above them. I really doubt that if you go to a town there are 3 houses in that town. But to the protagonist in Red and Blue, there's his house, there's his rival's house, and there's the Pokemon lab. That's all we see in the game, but we know better. So like,
yeah, that's a great way to look at it too.
So leading to all of these like sort of the rules about, you know, like the laws regarding Pokemon and ownership and all of these things, the governing of different things, we only know about it all through the eyes of this kid.
Yeah,
right? So
that's a great way to, yeah.
So I take every like idea with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to like this sort of aspect, like the ethics and the morals and the legality of like owning things.
Not things, but sentient beings.
Yeah, not things. My bad.
Because they're not even just animals, which I will wager that there's an argument to be made that animals are every bit sentient beings. There's no reason to believe they're not, in my opinion.
Right.
But still, if we're making that distinction, they're on the same level as humans.
There was a connection made between Pokemon and people that like pets and people in our world haven't accomplished.
So
yeah, that's my point.
Silph didn't create Porygon, but
Correct.
Silph did create the Upgrade, which is a device which, if you use that device in conjunction with trading your Porygon, it will evolve to Porygon 2, which Porygon 2 probably was created by Silph. They probably did some, either because the law doesn't prohibit it, did their own research and just made Porygon 2, or they probably partnered up with a Pokemon lab and were like, hey, we have more resources than you. Why don't you come?
Well, from a programming like standpoint, from like if you think of Porygon as software, right? That when you like come out with a patch for a program, you don't right away call it, this program version 2. It's like this program 1.01.
Right.
It's like patch notes. So I think with the upgrade for Porygon, it's less that they intended to make a whole new Pokemon, and they just wanted to improve on Porygon. But because of how he works,
that makes sense.
It became Porygon 2.
Yeah, and Porygon 2 is basically just a smoother, rounder Porygon.
Right.
Not much of a difference except that it's more refined polygons. It looks kind of like one of those water-drinking birds that computer programmers keep on their desk, which I think is definitely intentional. Its head bobs up and down in the 3D games. And also, that's one... I feel like I saw a lot of those in 90s 3D graphics, Like, I feel like I can picture that in, like, my third grade class in the computer lab. Yeah, like, in the 3D graphic of it, because it's very easy to animate in 3D graphics because it's just simple shapes.
Right.
I definitely think that's purposeful.
So that's actually, like, a nice little way to describe him, though. Like, a more rounded Porygon as a description
in many
for,
ways.
like, upgrading it, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point.
What's weird is it becomes 7 inches shorter and 10 pounds lighter.
A lot lighter. Yep.
Yeah.
Still weird because of the body mass of a digital creature, but it's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah. And as we said, it has the ability to learn and act on its own will through its AI. So
right. Well, one of the improvements.
It also says straight up that it was designed for space exploration.
Porygon 2, they wanted specifically to do this so he could...
One entry says that it has planetary development software installed, and plenty of entries reference planetary development, what does that mean? Like, terraforming? I don't know what that means exactly.
Yeah, that seems like a really general term. Planetary development.
One entry said it was created to explore other planets, but failed to measure up, quote unquote.
So they were getting ready to send him to space because they thought they could with Porygon. But
they also say it can't fly. And I think they're hinting that since it couldn't fly, it has no way to propel itself through space, so it just doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Because it still needs to walk. But I feel like Porygon floats.
Yeah, they both float at least in the 3D game.
Maybe their floating still is somehow confined to the ground. But why?
There's some level of gravitational.
Yeah, with the electromagnetic field, it's probably still the only way you could make it work without affecting the gravity of the things around it was by bounding it in the gravity of the world.
Ba-boom! Did we just crack the case? Yes, I think we did.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and then. This is not, I'm fairly certain it's the only Pokemon which doesn't you don't have to just trade it to evolve it to its final form, but for both of its forms, you have to trade it to evolve it.
It is 100% the only Pokemon.
Yeah,
it evolves 2 stages through evolution, or through trading.
If you trade it while holding the dubious disc, it'll evolve to Porygon Z.
Yes, y'all. One of my favorite Pokemon.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. This is why we're having the conversation.
This is where it gets weird. The dubious disc, first of all, we don't know who developed that. Silph so 3 different people created each different version of this Pokemon, 3 different entities, corporate entities, or was it a corporate entity that created the dubious disc?
This is an interesting. You go ahead and give the description of him, but
okay, so now it gets bigger than base Porygon at 2 foot 11 inches and
still
heavier
lighter
than Porygon 2, but still 5 pounds lighter than base Porygon. It flies. It has two little arms that look like wings. It looks really weirdo. It has these weird little cooked out eyes.
Yeah.
And, oh, wait, that sounds racist. Oh, my God. No, by that I mean
Cooked
like it's
out
kooky.
eyes? Is that
like
racist now?
Well, kook is a slang for Asian people.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah, I didn't. That's not what I meant, though. I meant like
No.
spirally, like crazy eyes, like it did a bunch of acid.
Right. Like kooky, like 1960s cartoons kooky.
Yeah, exactly. And supposedly, the dubious disc was created to give Porygon Z the ability to travel through alien dimensions.
Yes.
But there was some type of errors and bugs in the programming. Oh, and so Porygon
I have
Z,
so many ideas and theories.
it doesn't look that different from Porygon 2. It's just sort of like rearranged the way it's structured, and it floats. It has a longer tail, like little thing on its head. And yeah, but it's still bird-like, and it's weird. It seems to be erratic and glitchy. Yes. So you have theories. I have theories. And
Nice.
this is going to be very interesting.
I'm very curious. Who goes first?
You go.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
Please, you're the guest.
So, first, not so much theory, but more like what I consider the concept behind Porygon Z. Especially these days with like PC gaming and stuff, you have a lot of like players who are familiar with programming and that sort of thing. So they take it upon themselves to sort of improve upon the games they're playing. They will like, they'll come up with their own...
Phil Cobb.
I wasn't going to go there.
It's okay. The listeners get that reference.
Oh, nice. That's...
Well, they don't know that aspect of his personality, but they're like, yeah. I think our
I
listeners
get it.
know us pretty well. Like, I've had listeners send us messages about, like, I like this host. They're like, I like how cynical and stubborn Phil is. And I was like, how do you know Phil that well? He's done 2 episodes.
Some of us are just very strong personalities, especially Phil. That makes perfect sense.
He's done 3 episodes.
God
3,
damn, I love that man. Okay, so
4 if you count fair enough.
So players will like come up with their own mods, their own like patches for games intended to improve upon the game. They're not the most familiar with the code. They do what they can, but there are going to be bugs. So this is how we wind up with Porygon Z. Actually, this is kind of like borrowed from their various Pokédex entries, wherein they mention that like it was an attempt to like do these things, but they didn't all work out. Like there was a bug or 2 in it. So like it's not the perfected, it's not like Porygon 3. It's Porygon Z, so this like altered thing. My idea or my theory, Porygon Z was introduced in the, what's it, the 4th gen?
Yeah, boy.
The Platinum, like Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum.
Yes.
Which I love to death. Might be some of my favorite games, hands down.
Well, yes, I know, because I don't know if you remember this, but I played Pokemon. I got really excited for Generation 2. Petered out during Generation 2 because I got to high school and other things started happening.
Yep.
And then when Ruby and Sapphire came out, I was just like, those new Pokemon look stupid. I'm not even into Pokemon anymore because that looks dumb. And then I stopped being into Pokemon for a couple years. Then my girlfriend of like 2 years broke up with me. I picked up my old brick of a Game Boy, popped my red version back in and started playing, and I loved it again.
Okay.
And then I hadn't hung out with you in several years. I got back acquainted with you and you were playing. This was during Generation 4.
Yes.
Before Heart
Yes.
Gold and Soul Silver.
Yep.
When Platinum had just come out and you gave me your Pearl version.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yes.
I absolutely remember, and that was it. Like,
Yeah.
as a reminder, like, oh my gosh, these games can actually be really good. It involved, what was it, Team Galactic? Team
Yes,
Galactic.
sir. Who?
And what was their ultimate goal? Something about like going into
Even more basic. What was their theme? Space. Which Porygon was created. Arguably, Porygon itself was created to do, and Porygon 2 explicitly was created to do.
But they were delving into that alternate dimension.
Yes. They wanted to recreate the universe, the image they wanted to make it.
Right.
In order to do that, they wanted to travel to different dimensions, mainly the distortion world, to get Giratina.
That's exactly what it is. And so, like, why not hire a few, like, sketchy basement fucking coders to
Silph co-employees?
Right, yeah, to like sort of fix up this Pokemon, design him and create him.
But then it didn't work, and they ended up using the methods you see in the game. But there's more than enough evidence to, I think, explicitly make this clear too.
Does that mean that our theories that we didn't share kind of line up?
Mine goes pretty deep.
Oh, yours goes deeper than that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I guess it's always easier.
Mine gets really specific.
Okay.
So let's get into some of the most basic evidence. So the dubious disc, you find it in Team Galactic's HQ. So that alone is like, well, that's where you find it. You don't find it somewhere else.
Didn't even remember that, and it only supports my idea.
You meet a man in, what is it? Burbank City? No. Veilstone City. One of those V cities. A guy in Veilstone City gives you a Porygon, which he says that he found outside the Team Galactic HQ or trying to escape Team Galactic or something.
Oh, well, okay, so they're pretty much laying it out there.
Yeah.
I thought I was all smart for my...
There's more.
Oh, Jesus.
But it gets really deep, and you have to really invest your... But I really don't think that it's one of those like synchronicities. I think it's intentional because it's so obvious and in your face when you read into it so hard.
Okay.
So Charon, the Team Galactic scientist who discovered Rotom, the like chubby guy with the weird hair and the glasses, he has at the Team Galactic HQ, he has this like Rotom room with like the notebooks and the journals about what he's learned about Rotom.
Yep.
Actually, it's undefined whether or not he discovered Rotom because there's one journal that doesn't explicitly link to him, but that's there in his room that could have been written by somebody else that talks about discovering Rotom. But I think it's a short leap to say that he wrote them both and he discovered Rotom, but maybe not. Either way. No, it says it's a really old notebook, so maybe someone else discovered him, but he did all the modern research on how it works.
Right. You could look at like the discovery of Rotom as being like earlier in the time, like around Ruby Sapphire time, or like Red Blue time.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sort of an unnecessary stretch.
It says it's impossible to tell how old the notebook is. It literally says that. So
there you go.
He has this room, like this Rotom research room at the Team Galactic headquarters. Now, if you visit Silph Co. in Kanto, this is in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and you have Rotom in your party, and you go in the elevator, Rotom will take over the elevator and bring you down into the... Now, hold on. For our listeners and you, I want you to not just hear what I'm saying, but also put yourself in Gold's shoes, like the character who did this in storyline, and that you've got a Rotom, you've went through all this, and then you go to there, and you go in the elevator, and you're about to press like top floor because you want to go talk to the Silph president about something or something like that, because you've got connections now, you've done so much,
right?
And then Rotom's like, and you're like, what's going on? It's almost a little creepy, and you're like, fuck, did this new Pokemon I get, did this ghost Pokemon fucking with me? Oh fuck, and then it goes down to the basement, and the door's open, and I just see, you know what I mean? And there's a secret room, so I see like I want you to see what I see when I get so invested in this universe.
I'm like seeing this because like
cinematic.
Somehow I did not know this was a thing.
No, and you enter a room that is almost identical to the room in the Team Galactic headquarters that has all these Rotom research. It's almost identical down to the same two notebooks. The same notebooks are in that room.
This is the room where you can change his form.
Yes.
In Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but in Diamond and Pearl, in Platinum, it's in the Team Galactic
so
HQ.
I did know about it, but I never really thought about it in this context.
So if he worked for Silph Co., the company that developed the upgrade, he could have taken some prototype upgrades. Cyrus has a Master Ball. Now, a lot of people have Master Balls. You could have got that in a lot of places, but Giovanni probably has a Master Ball. Let's face it. Right. Well, no, because that was his whole point, was to try to steal it.
Yeah, that was the whole point of the Silph Co. building.
He didn't get it. So if Charon may have worked for Silph Co. because he has an office there, or at least there's an office with his notebooks in it.
Right.
With the same notebooks, though, which is weird. They're identical notebooks. That just might be a weird video game thing. But he then could have got bought out by Cyrus to come work for him and develop the Dubious Disc to help him develop a further Porygon thing to investigate other dimensions. Now, think about his name, too, Charon. Charon is in ancient Greek mythology, he's the guy, the ferryman that takes you across the river Styx to Hades, the underworld, the world of the damned. Yes, the distortion world of Greek mythology. So not only that, but you have to pay him. You have to pay him to get you have to give him a coin in order for him to take you across.
Right.
So he could have paid Charon to bring him here to help him find research to get to another dimension. Now, hold on, because my brain is just, you know how when you talk to people about stuff?
So deep now.
That all I wholeheartedly think was written into the narrative, into the subtext, and you're supposed to figure it out by paying too much attention to it like we do.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, though, I'm going to take it and pay too much attention to it. And this is the point where it's like, oh, well, actually, Han Solo defeated it in 12 parsecs because he was able to use the warp drive to literally go less physical space. He wasn't stupid and thought it was amount of time. He was saying that he literally didn't fly as much space so that he, that wasn't intended by George Lucas. That was the fans loving their shit too much.
The argument that I ascribe to, for the record.
And it works, though. It works because the fans love it so much that they made it work. And that's what I'm going to do here with these duplicate notebooks.
All right, I'm ready.
Maybe look, the Delta episode establishes that each version of the Pokemon game is a different universe, and each version that your friend has is a different universe. Maybe Pearl version Charon found a way to go to Diamond version universe, took his notebooks and brought him back with him just in case there was something that Diamond universe version him knew that he didn't. And maybe when maybe he was fucking around with the universe thing and he didn't realize it. Imagine the cinematic, man. And then he was walking around and he's like, something's weird and something's off. Why are the Pokemon centers blue and the Mart's red? And that doesn't happen in Diamond version, but something weird. So then he goes and he's like, oh fuck, I'm in a different, he realizes there's a him and he's like, oh my God. So he's like, I need to get out of here. Holy shit. And he freaks out because he's an old man and maybe he's never explored another dimension. And he's like, oh fuck. I'm going to take these notebooks though. What if he's learned something I haven't? Like, he's clearly doing the same research. I'm going to steal his research. And he goes back in that version's like, what the fuck? Where'd my research go? I was sabotaged. It was Silph Co.
Yeah. I'm gonna call it on that one.
That's a little too much.
Yeah, it's a little too much for me. The easier version for me is that like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Diamond and Pearl happen just like maybe months apart from one another, and he just had his notebooks still in the Silph building in Gold Silver.
Oh, so Heart Gold and Soul Silver actually happened first. Well, it did happen first.
It did happen first.
Wait. No, they happened near the same time, but it could have happened slightly earlier.
Well, the only evidence we have is like the locations.
Gen 2 and Gen 4. No, there's storyline things that.
Well, yeah, I know, but like they only lead into like.
But what I mean is Gen 1 and Gen 3 happen around the same time,
I know.
and Gen 2 and Gen 4 happen around the same time.
Right.
But Soul Silver could have still happened slightly before.
Even weeks,
Diamond and Pearl.
Even a week. That week he is like, fuck, they're gonna find out what I'm doing. I better leave Silph Co. You happen to find his notebooks in that week. He takes them and then, I don't know.
But you know what? If I was doing a Pokemon anime and drawing it out, I would throw that in there because why not? Why not indulge in that story? I think it fits into this framework perfectly.
If I was doing an anime, I would do it my way. Just because that's so extra.
Well, no, in like the origin story of him, have it be like something that happens in the origin story of him when he's figuring out how to do these dimensions.
Pops into alternate dimensions and like that's
why not? Because that's the point of the story.
Yeah, but then it's you're left with the question of like, okay, so it's
foreshadowing for the fucking Delta episode, which is going to happen a few seasons later, and foreshadowing for the end of this season when Cyrus.
I mean,
I think each gen should be like 8 seasons.
I'm a hella miser. So like,
you're hella what?
A miser, like a oh Jesus, like a cantankerous. Oh, I got nothing. I'm done.
You like your Pokemon special?
I like my Pokemon special. Don't take that away from me.
The anime should just be a direct panel for panel adaptation of Pocket Monsters special.
I mean, yes.
Like the Watchmen up till the ending.
I would love to come up with like a better comeback to that, but the answer is just like yes. If that's how they did it, I would be a very happy boy.
Well, I know what you're going to love, Justin. You're going to love this fan theory about Porygon.
Ooh, give it to me.
This is a new budding fan theory about Porygon. A lot of people are theorizing that Porygon is actually Porygon has an alternate identity.
Ooh.
I'm trying to like draw this out. That Mimikyu under Mimikyu's sheet is pouring. Shut the fuck!
What the fuck?
Come on, guys. This is really popular.
No.
I'm sure it's been reported on BuzzFeed several times.
I spend like time on like the Pokemon subreddit. That's about it for me nowadays. But like, no. I've never read that before. That's ridiculous.
Google it. There's several
Porygon under the Mimikyu costume.
Here's the theory. Now, we're not going to talk about this, the most obvious aspect of Porygon that a lot of listeners, especially first-time listeners, are probably thinking, how have you guys not brought this up yet? Porygon gave a bunch of kids seizures in the 90s. Porygon didn't. Pikachu did. That's how it actually went down, guys. Listen to our banned episode to learn more about that episode. We talked about it in detail.
It was just the Porygon episode.
Yeah, and it was Pikachu's Thundershock that did it. It wasn't Porygon at all. And Porygon has never been featured in the anime since because of this. He's been blackballed because an episode that he starred in, and he's like, guys, it wasn't even me. So the theory is that because of that, and this is why it's not true, too, beyond the fact that it's just stupid and it's fucking creating a fan theory for the sake of creating a fan theory for the sake of writing a fucking BuzzFeed article. Like, beyond that, the fucking Pokemon anime doesn't exist in the Oh, wait, I was theorizing the other day that it does exist in the canon.
It doesn't exist in the canon.
I was theorizing that it does exist in the canon.
That theory for a
and that Pokemon
years.
hate it, and it's like the Geico Cavemen show, and they're like, we do not just say our own names. That is so racist. You can't. Do we all look the same? Is that the only way you can tell us apart? But, yeah, like the Pokemon anime doesn't exist. If Porygon didn't give kids seizures in the Pokemon universe. There was never, even in the Pokemon anime, kids didn't get seizures.
Right.
So unless the Pokemon anime aired in the Pokemon universe and gave kids seizures there, this didn't happen. But the theory is that
even if it did,
now that he's been shunned, he's like, I want people to love me. So he dresses up like Pikachu.
Oh,
He's
no.
like, people still love Pikachu.
No.
Eat a dick.
Yeah. So unnecessary.
Yeah. Now you like my Charon theory a little better. It's more grounded in reality than
the
that.
lesser of two evils. So, yeah, fine. Still too much a stretch. I don't like it. Give me other fan theories to be like angry about. That's like...
Listen to our episodes. There's plenty to piss you off.
It's too much. I think, honestly, like, my love for Porygon Z is really just from... like a vague design aspect, but mostly because it's like super handy in like competitive battling. Not when you get to like the super high upper tiers of like competitive.
Yeah, that's
like,
so frustrating.
The meta is too strong.
Yeah.
Like, give me a slightly cool looking Pokemon that can like use Thunderbolt, but also like I don't even remember the names now. Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. It's like a good grass attack I could use every now and then. Energy Ball, I think is what it was. Yeah. I can't think about it
Can
anymore.
Porygon Z learn teleport? Probably not. It should, because if it was created to move through alien dimensions, it would be cool if it was able to kind of move through spatial dimensions in a way we didn't know, even
That
though
would be dope.
It could just move itself to another place.
Totally fitting.
Because what it did was it moved through a dimension to get there. It didn't actually just instant
like
transmission.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nightcrawler. X-Men on the podcast again.
Look to me for like those like dumbass Marvel references. I got you. Ilyana Rasputin, Colossus's younger sister, magic, also teleports in much the same way.
All right, so now for everybody who didn't listen to episode 10, who's like, what do you mean the breakfast? Why did this episode start with Simple Minds?
What is it? What does this even mean?
It wasn't actually Simple Minds. Don't sue me. Fair use. The Breakfast Club. We were talking about how Pokemon trainers are so one note in the Pokemon universe, and they have like these themes that they train. Although recently a listener sent us a brilliant insight into that you're raising biological creatures, and you're not going to ever encounter someone in the real world who runs both an aviary and takes care of birds and also takes care of Arctic creatures and grizzly bears. Maybe a hospice for animals. But yeah, so that you're specialized, because it's easier to take care of fire Pokemon if you're specialized in taking care of fire Pokemon or bird Pokemon or forest Pokemon or cave Pokemon.
Holy crow.
Right?
Wow.
Right? Thank you, Steven. Like, we really appreciate that, man.
I don't know if you talked about it, but that adds like a level of like kind of interesting appeal to like the adventuring Pokemon trainer then?
Yeah, the jack of all your hero's a prodigy.
Right, exactly. Holy dang.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons they're so badass, because only super badass trainer could do that.
Right.
And like, to be able to have a team that is so varied is such an advantage. And that your trainer is not just a badass at fighting; they're very compassionate. They know how to take care of these creatures and form a bond with them.
They're able to raise all of these
different.
Oh,
they're also a skilled.
This is the takiest theory I've ever been introduced to. Whoa. All right. Well, that's
And you know what?
groundbreaking.
Wow. And here's another connection is that Red's team is like the Breakfast Club.
Right. It's like all of these individuals from these different things come together. Oh, my gosh.
And at first they're beefing. And Red's like, you mess with the bull. You get the horns.
Get the horns. I tried to come up with...
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. So
right.
in episode 10, the reason the Breakfast Club came up is because people are so one note. I was like, so are you saying that in the Pokemon universe, there's nobody who doesn't have a favorite Breakfast Club character? And we started saying, you know what Pokemon would they have if Pokemon existed in the Breakfast Club movie? Like if that movie just took place in Kanto or wherever in the Pokemon universe. Unova, because it's the United States, I guess. But what Pokemon would they have?
Right.
And we were going to try to do it then, and I was like, you know what? On the Porygon episode we committed to doing, that's when we'll discuss it.
Yep.
Well, we're here 39 episodes later.
Like probably about 2 years.
And if you guys enjoy this, please go listen to Fair Enough Podcast. We did an episode about the Star Trek characters in which we did the same thing that we're about to do. All right, so for the benefit of the listener, we are going to give the Breakfast Club their own Pokemon teams. Now, before we kick it off, let's just get this out of the way. I don't remember his name, the principal or teacher or whatever.
I considered giving him a team.
He's got a Tauros because you mess
the
with the bull.
You
get the horns.
That was the only direction I was going. So it makes sense.
So who do we want to start with? If you're not familiar with the Breakfast Club, I think you should still listen. Okay, don't turn off the podcast yet. There's more, and please don't turn it off yet because there's some really important stuff you need to hear at the end that is really cool. You're going to enjoy hearing it, and it's going to relate to you in your personal life. So please don't turn off the podcast if you haven't seen the Breakfast Club. If you've seen any teen movie in your life, it's the same 5 characters that are in that movie. The princess, the jock, the rebel bad kid, the nerd, and the weirdo. So we will tell you which is which, and just imagine your stereotypical jock or nerd.
Honestly, it works.
Yeah. And go out and watch The Breakfast Club. Otherwise, or you could pause it, go watch The Breakfast Club, turn it back on.
Yeah, it's the age of the internet. That makes perfect sense. You only have to tab over.
So who do we want to start with, Justin?
Let's see. Who do I have the most for? So I should preface this by saying, when I was trying to come up with these teams, what Pokemon they would have, I was stunted because I'm really trying to avoid giving that sort of stereotypical Pokemon for each of these kind of stereotypical characters.
Oh yeah,
and
I hear you. That's what I usually try to do. Like when we did the Gotham City Batman episode where we gave them Pokemon teams,
Right.
I didn't want to just give... I mean, if somebody was made of fire, there's no one in Batman that's made of fire, but I'm not trying to waste time trying to think of an example. If someone was made of fire, I didn't want to just give them fire types. I wanted to find other things that work with them.
Right, and relate to them in other ways.
Now, that said, my teams are a little on the nose, but this is the fucking Breakfast Club. So from my perspective, of course they are. It's the fucking Breakfast Club.
Fair. Fair. And so, to that end, I wasn't able to come up with, a lot for each of the characters. I probably could have dug a little deeper, but I don't know. I have, one per for each of them. I kind of, I envision them, because they're, these kids, and they're
cool.
so, their characters are what they are. I kind of pictured a lot of them as just having, their one...
They're not red. They're fucking high schoolers.
Right, exactly. They're these kids that they have their, one confidant. Kind of.
Sure, I'll accept that. I have 4 or 5 for each.
So to that end, I'll start with what's a John or Bender.
Yeah, Judd Nelson. He's the rebel. He's the bad kid, the obnoxious, loud, kind of a bully. Not like a bully. Like he's not gonna beat him up and give him noogies, kind of. But he's
right. But he's just he's smoking cigarettes in the bathroom, kind of
totally.
Well,
it's what's weird to me is why does he fucking show up?
Right.
I don't believe
you're already in detention and you're already the bad kid.
You know what? It must be why is to just get away from his parents somewhere he's safe. Let's not
kind of depressing.
Let's not deconstruct the Breakfast Club. Let's give him Pokemon
but that
teams.
Is fair. Anyway, so mine for him, and this is the one I think most sort of generic option for him, but it makes sense, is just a Scrafty.
Scrafty?
Yeah,
of course.
It's just him and Scrafty. Maybe he's not actually even his Pokemon. He was this little Scraggy
They're
that
friends.
was kind of in the neighborhood
when
he was a kid, and then they're around each other, and sometimes they fist bump and they do whatever.
That's kind of like me and my Farfetch'd. I consider that my Farfetch'd is not actually my Pokemon. I've never had him in a Pokeball. We're just friends. He never competes in battles for me.
Right.
But I still count him as one of my 6, so people don't call Mary
bullshit.
Sue on me.
Yeah.
You're just giving yourself an extra Pokemon.
Yeah, but he's the Meowth to Bender's Jesse and James.
Yeah, and in addition to a Scrafty, I also gave Bender a Coughing, which for a few reasons it connects with that bad element because a lot of seedy people in the Pokemon universe tend to have Coughings. Mm-hmm. There's also the theory that they were created by Team Rocket, which we talked about a few episodes ago.
I missed that.
Also, the way he like smokes in the room and gets everybody high.
Yeah,
the coughing works, and probably better than the wheezing because he's still young and maybe not happy. But
this isn't like post-college breakfast club. That's when the wheezing comes.
I gave him a Snorlax and a Slacking because no sleeping, Bender, and and he's it makes sense, and he's a slacker, and I gave him an Exploud because holy shit, he's fucking loud. That is a loud movie. A lot of people yell in that movie a lot.
Interesting point. See, that's the kind of stuff I was aiming for. Right. They're supposed to be silent, sit at their desks, not move, and not fall asleep.
They yell that whole movie, but the only time the principal hears them is when the script wants him to.
Right.
All right.
Okay, that's a solid. That's good.
Who should we go with next?
Let's see. My favorite pick for the whole bunch was for the little nerdy guy. What's his Brian?
Brian Johnson.
Brian
yes.
Johnson.
That's Michael Ian Black. No, Michael Scott Hall. Is that his name?
Michael Scott Hall.
One of those three names with a Michael and a Scott or something.
Too much. Yeah, white boy names. That was mean of me. I rescind that comment. I'm sorry.
Here, I'll give you my team first this time, and then we'll see if any of them.
Well, I've only got the one.
I know, so
okay, all right.
We'll go back and forth.
Sure.
So for Brian, I gave him a Rattata because it's in the top percentage.
Oh, yeah. Is Brian's in the top percentage? Because that was the point. It was
Brian's is. That's what I mean.
Brian's is also in the top percentage.
Because if I had to cast somebody as Joey in the Pokemon movie, it would be 1980s Michael Scott Hall or whatever his name is.
Totally fitting. I get it.
God, right. I hope I remembered the right name and I'm not referencing somebody completely wrong. A Magnemite. He's super into like science, and also it's like this little, tiny, unassuming, one of the smallest Pokemon.
Yep.
Bisharp, because I don't know if he said he was in chess club, but I remember him being like, I'm in physics club, I'm in this club, I'm in that club, I'm in those clubs. And they're like, well, those are different from other clubs. And I remember that whole exchange. He's probably in chess club. And a Psyduck, just because it seems fitting that he'd have a Psyduck.
Oh, yeah. Psyduck is very fitting for his character. I do want to go back to the Bisharp thing, though.
Sure.
Without going too far off subject.
A Poniard. He'd have a Poniard, excuse me, because that's the baby form.
Poniard, yeah. You still... Has this been a discussion we've had before where you kind of relate them to... Are you relating them to chess pieces?
They are related. They're related to more than just chess pieces. But yes, chess pieces are very clearly an inspiration to them.
I guess by the name...
Well, but they don't. Yeah. They consider every fucking name. If I've learned anything making this show, dude, listen to the last episode, Justin. Porygon amounted to it's Polygon, but racist.
Yeah.
Nidoran, you won't believe how many references there are in that tiny little fucking 3-syllable name.
All right, I'm ready for it. Okay, then I'll stop all of what I had to say.
But yeah, no, they're. That's the amazing thing is that these Pokemon usually, not with Porygon, but have multiple influences. With Porygon, it does have a few. But anyway, we talked about that.
My only one was the most Poindexter of all of the Pokemon.
Wait, who's that? I don't know. Yeah, enlighten me.
It's Rowlet.
Oh, really?
The little owl with his little bow tie and his little yeah, that's the nerdiest of all the Pokemon I've decided. No question. I saw him,
and then it gets emo, and then it kills itself and becomes a ghost.
Oh my god! Can you make that joke? Is that
okay?
Is that okay? Well, at least we're not on cable, so.
Yeah, we call the shots.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why we have a couple 2-star and 1-star reviews. Fairpoint has none. Silph Radio has a few. I don't know why. I guess, I don't know. So if you like us, please, the reviews help because we actually have bad ratings and reviews. So please leave a good one if you can. But moving forward, who do you want to do next?
Let's see. I'll talk about, the weird girl, Addison.
Yes.
Is that who it was? Yeah.
Do you have a favorite character?
I don't have a favorite character.
Allison's my favorite.
I like Amelia Esteban for...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Estevez.
Estevez. Sorry.
Yeah.
Esteban. I just watched Life Aquatic again the other night.
I've been considering it for a while
Esteban.
now. So good. So good.
Also, maybe we can talk about Life Aquatic characters, like
give them Pokemon
or just
teams?
like Wes Anderson movie characters, Pokemon.
39 episodes from now.
Like how they'll work into those movies. That would be amazing. I would talk about that for hours.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Honestly, the token Pokemon on like Steve Zissou's like boat would just be a Psyduck. It makes perfect sense.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah.
He would have a beanie.
Yeah. Yes, I can see it. Oh my god.
And they would look to him to do things, but he can't do anything.
Oh, I love it. But we're talking about the Breakfast Club.
We're talking about Breakfast Club. So the weird girl, Addison, your favorite.
Yeah, I like Addison. She's my favorite. You don't have a favorite, you said?
No, not particularly.
Okay, fair enough.
Honestly, for her, I said, I was trying to like keep it to
weird girl,
minimum and realistic.
She's quiet. She doesn't talk. She wears all black. She's like she eats like Pixie Stick and Captain Crunch sandwiches. She just wears like this big baggy cardigan and scarf and like whatever, just like by herself, just super weird. And she's also a compulsive liar, like
Right.
Not exactly goth, but almost goth, She'd be goth if she could afford it.
Or if that was
Commit to anything.
Right, more streamlined for...
Sorry, go ahead. Though.
No. So my only pick for her was Umbreon.
Cool, I gave her an Umbreon, of course.
When she was younger, before she grew up and like came into this like phase of her life, she had her Eevee, who was like super adorable and like kind of like matched probably what she was like when she was a girl,
Eevee,
a younger girl.
It evolves to Umbreon based on your friendship together, so...
Your friendship and like the time of day.
They grew together.
Time of day.
Yeah, and they grew together parallel. Oh, it was time of day.
It was time of day.
By friendship and time of day, yeah. But to this also to think you have a... It might also have a little to do with your personality,
It makes sense, though. Either
Maybe
way.
in the real world, an Eevee would evolve at night if you had a darker, more nighttime personality and bond with it.
Right.
It would that's when its body would naturally evolve because of your connection.
Right. So that, to me, like, made the most sense. So, and, like, it's still her sort of, like, hiding that part of herself, the change from Eevee to Umbreon. But,
sure.
like, Umbreon. That's my partner for her.
Sure. I gave her Umbreon, Smeargle because she's an artist.
Oh, fitting.
A Mr. Mime because she's so quiet and doesn't talk.
Okay.
A Alolan Meowth for the dark,
although Mr. Mime
weird. She seems like she'd have a black cat. If when she grows up and can afford a pet.
I'm into that.
Alolan Meowth is dope too, and I can just see it. It fits her like Psyduck fits Brian Williams.
Yeah, I almost
Brian
gave
Johnson.
Alolan Raticate to Bender, but
I could see that too.
Yeah.
Actually, that works well. He befriends a rat. Like he probably lives in a poor, dirty house.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Just the sketchy fat black rat
that somehow isn't in Hawaii.
Right.
Like isn't in Alola, even though it's the Alolan Raticate. Well, it escaped some trainer. Damien, the dickhead from the anime, let it go.
Right.
And then last but not least, I gave her a Haunter because she's got to have like a
ghost,
a weird, tricky ghost. So she's so like erratic and strange and weird. Like a Porygon Z almost, but yeah. There was no Porygons back then. This was in the 80s.
Right. No, that's valid. Okay, cool.
Hey, we got 2 left, so who do we want to do penultimately?
Honestly, I'm most embarrassed about like all I've come up with for Andrew. So that's like the
jock. That's Emilio
Estevez. I have nothing for him. So
nothing. He's just
I was like,
he has nothing.
Well, I'll give him a Machop, and like I was kind of disappointed in that.
Yeah, originally I was going to give him a Machamp, but you're right. He should have not the full evolved form, but I think I'm going to give him a Machoke.
I think for me,
he trains so much that if anyone's going to have more evolved forms, it's him.
He fights he wants so hard, but he's also stunted by like what his parents and like what all of that expectation is like on him.
Oh, and he has no one to trade with, just like he does. But what's her name? Addison has no one to trade with, so of course it's a Haunter.
Right, just a Haunter.
Yeah.
Not a Gengar. Okay, I respect that.
But
maybe they. Oh, don't wait. Isn't there?
They're the ones that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could trade and then wind up with a Machamp and a Gengar. Oh, that's romantic. Okay, I'm liking this twist. I'm about it.
Don't you? I gave him. I'm going to say a Machoke. I'm still going to say a Machoke.
Cool.
A Hawlucha, because he's a wrestler, so those are the two wrestlers.
Oh, yeah, that would...
And two Pokemon that just fit him. I actually, you know what? I did give him a Pidgeotto and not a Pidgeot, but then I gave him a Nidoking, but it should be a Nidorino. A Pidgeot and a Nidorino. I feel like they just fit him.
Nidorino's like really fitting. I can see that. I'm sure
Pidgeot with the Letterman jacket, I can just see him like standing there with a Pidgeot, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like the big fancy like hair like going back or whatever.
Or a Pidgeotto or
whatever. Yeah, I can get that. That makes sense. I'm into that.
Yeah.
Who else? Now that if I like look at the jock aspect of it, I guess like I don't know. it still it doesn't help, but
well, how about Claire? Last but not least, Molly Ringwald, the popular girl.
The only one I gave 2 Pokemon.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Well, she's rich, of course. Her parents bought her 2 Pokemon.
Right. She's got a Skitty at home.
Okay.
Because every princess has a little Skitty.
And if you have a pet Pokemon, does it count towards your team of 6?
That's another question.
Like
right?
Mr. Mime at Ash's house? Like, does Ash's mom started Pokemon training?
Well, it doesn't count because they're not out like
at her
traveling
house.
with you.
But what if she started Pokemon training, but she still lived at home? Would she still be able to have a team of 6?
No, we're going too far. I don't know.
Well, no, Justin's like, come on, dude. I gotta leave soon.
Well, because it's got to be a league battle, right? So you can only pull out 6 for one of those anyways.
All right. So, Claire, Pretty in Pink. If you've seen Pretty in Pink, but not the Breakfast
Molly
Club. Same,
Ringwald.
Yeah, same character.
Classic. Super adorable. Right?
So you said the Skitty and who else?
Skitty and Serena. The Sarina, if you will. It's like a bug type Pokemon from the 7th gen.
Is that the last? That's not the current generation?
That's the most recent generation.
That's the current one,
Sun
Alola.
Moon. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is it? Which one is it?
It's like a grass type Pokemon, sort of like more on the
bug or grass?
It's a grass type.
Okay.
So just has like two legs. It's sort of like princessy in appearance. I don't know as much about these later generations of Pokemon as I do the earlier, but
yeah, me either. That's
you kind of like you see them, you get a feel for them, and that one makes makes a lot of sense. Like I should know a bit more, but
okay,
it just kind of looks like her. So.
I gave her a Roselia.
Oh yeah, same concept.
And I mean, and again, this is one note, but like the characters are, especially her character is like part of her character's aspect is like, why are you so one note? You know,
right?
So she likes being pretty and going along with what the popular girls expected to, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it actually. She hates it, but she's expected to, and she does it.
Right.
Beautifly, Jigglypuff, Gardevoir, and Roselia.
Right. All Pokemon I would have given her if I had like taken the time to. Like dig a bit deep.
Sure.
Yeah. But also it would be fun if she had like a Grimer who's actually her best friend and or like a what I mean a Geodude somewhere.
Well, she gets one later, like when her and Bender start dating.
Right. Or she winds up with Bender's wrong character. Bender's Scrafty's
yeah, not from
friend.
Futurama.
Right. No.
Hey, beat it, lady. I can't do Bender, but...
Oh, she winds up with her own little Scrap Bro. That would be nice. I can kind of see it. Now I'm waxing all romantic on these Breakfast Club characters in Pokemon.
It's so fun. Like, you could... It's a fun thought exercise to, like, take any fictional character or real life or historical person and give them their own team.
Right.
You know who's the funnest person to think about? Like, what if this person had a Pokemon team? Yourself.
Aww.
It was sappy.
Wow, so wholesome.
Me and you grew up with our ideas of like, no, this is my character if they were in the Pokemon universe. It's hard to explain. It's not that we wrote fanfics. It's not that we played and ran around in the woods and pretended that we were these characters. No, we definitely didn't do that.
No, that would
definitely
be ridiculous.
Didn't do that clear into like 8th or 9th grade.
We were way too busy doing other cool people things.
We were doing drugs and we were doing whippets in the woods and having rainbow parties and other things teenagers do.
Yes, whippets and rainbow parties. I still don't know what either of those things are.
They actually sound delicious. We always had this idea that like we each had our own perception of the character, and sometimes our views on how the world works or how the story pans out didn't quite fit, but we would still imagine that our characters meet up. And now it works with the Delta episode being that we just live in very close parallel universes like in Rick and Morty.
Wow. Okay. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've come to that conclusion a while ago because I realized that you're never going to like come to the same conclusions that I am because we argue about little things, whether or not my character could have this thing or do that thing. And but that's an awesome thing. And a lot of our friends, that extends to Jeremy, Phil, Justin, me, and man, I received the coolest, not the coolest, but one of the coolest messages from a fan that I've received yet. And it's inspired me to introduce what I'm hoping will become a new segment on the show. I hope you don't mind, Max. I'm just going to read what you wrote to the listeners. And Justin.
And me. I'm ready for this.
So Max wrote to us. He writes, Nathan, you and all of your guests are awesome. Thank you, Max.
Oh, thanks, Max.
I've been a Pokemon fan since I was 11 and sneaking my Game Boy into school to show my friends my progress from the day before. After listening to you, I feel a tad guilty with how callous I was with my Pokemon. Each new version saw the Pokemon on the old versions get abandoned. Now I want to create my own OC, original character, for the Pokemon universe and play as him with his team through the versions. I love that idea, by the way. It took some thought, but I came up with my character and wanted to share it with you since you gave me the idea.
Oh, my gosh. This is perfect.
My gosh, too.
I'm so glad. My gosh, too.
Oh, our gosh.
Our gosh.
Oh, our gosh, Sharon.
It's the perfect Randy thing to say.
His name is Lynx Del Bosque. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's from Celadon, and then in parentheses, because my father is a businessman and my mother is a master gardener. And I wonder if that's true in real life or just his character's background or both. That's me wondering. He would definitely follow after his mother with grass-type Pokemon, but with the increase in number of known Pokemon, he'd focus on the less traditional grass types. I limited to my team to no legendaries and up to 2 starters. That's cool that you gave yourself a limit on starters. Like, no legendaries, that should be standard. Yeah. Nobody should put legendaries in their team.
Right.
But limiting yourself to 2 starters shows a great bit of foresight and restraint that, like, that's not what makes a good character, is having all the coolest Pokemon.
Right, exactly. Right, it's all context.
So, let's see. Torterra, Decidueye, Ludicolo, Ferrothorn, Breloom, and Shiftry. I like that. Each we've covered Breloom and Shiftry. They each, I'm sorry. Breloom, Shiftry, and Ludicolo all had their own episodes.
Nice.
Decidueye kinda, and I could see. I love the idea of having a Torterra because I can see your whole team chilling on its back and you.
Yeah.
Like, let's have a picnic. Torterra's probably pissed because he can't join you on top of him.
Damn it! All right, just feed me. But then you reach down, and you hand him some snacks.
But he probably digs and loves it. He just chills in the sun. He's like, I just get to chill. Yeah. That's what I do. I'm a turtle with a tree on my back. I like just chilling. I don't want to be under a tree. I don't want shade.
Right.
Another tree is a threat.
There are like a few really good Pokemon in that list. I didn't realize how many like grass type Pokemon are actually really cool.
And a lot of them have secondary types too.
Right. Torterra, Ludicolo is like one of the funniest, if not like one of the best Pokemon ever. Super racist.
The most racist.
Probably one of, if not the most racist Pokemon. But, like, I don't know. It's from Japan. They can do anything they want.
And in the Pokemon universe, it just naturally exists. So we can't discriminate against it in canon, you know?
We can discriminate against whoever created it.
Yeah.
Well, if like the Pokemon scientist that like saw Ludicolo for the first time and was like, oh, wait, do I have a name for this guy?
Oh, just wait till they do their region based on Mexico. I wonder if the Japanese Pokemon company has the tact with which to handle that.
For this. They got pretty close with Alola.
So he continues.
Oh.
Each of the secondary types on these matches up with another interest or fascination of mine, so they fit perfectly. Mind you, this is not the team I would choose for my Genie Wish. Oh, yes, dude, this guy listens.
Dude, he's real. Yes.
His Genie Wish. Like, we've also talked about how me and Steve, who's been a long time since he did an episode too. Not quite as long as you, though. Me and him would always talk about if the Genie gave you a wish. You know, so if the Genie showed up now and said, who's your team? My team that I would wish for also wouldn't be the team that my character has, because with my character, I'm also writing a story.
Right.
but with who I want, give me all the ones I want. I want to cuddle with this Pokemon. I want that Pokemon. I don't care if they fit the theme. So yeah, it wouldn't be his Genie Wish. He says, I'm still working on that list, but it's going to require more research.
Nice.
I know Bulbasaur would be one of them because Venusaur helps with plant growth, which can be really useful, as well as being able to calm people, which can be indispensable. Anyways, I'm sorry if this was rambling, and I hope your podcast continues. I hope it does too. Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you hope it does.
Oh, man.
It wasn't rambling. This was the most fun message that I've heard in a long time, and I really love it. Like, I love when people send us messages that expand on what we're talking about, and the fact that me and you, I feel like it was me and you that inspired, and Jeremy, you and Jeremy that inspired him to do it. Phil did it begrudgingly because we bugged him about it.
But I mean, this goes back to like what? I mean, I was probably 11 or 12 when we were doing this shit and like accidentally coming up with like our own little storylines for characters.
Right?
Do you remember the Team Rocket Charmeleon that I stole? Do you remember that at all?
Oh man, vaguely. Yeah. I had a Dragonite that wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah. This is all whatever. But
those were our kids. That's not even our current stories.
But it pans out, and like that's like the foundation for this stuff we came up with. So like, think about this stuff, guys.
Please, this warmed my heart and entertained me thoroughly, and I hope that our listeners, I hope people will follow suit because I want to make this a new segment on the show. So
that would be great.
If you listen to the show, send us a message, and if you haven't thought of it already, like, think about it and make a team, and if you want to you don't have to, but go so far as to create a background story like he did.
Absolutely, dude.
If you don't want to, make a fucking team and send it to us, and we would love to share it with the other listeners. I want to hear it genuinely. Like, that's so cool. Like, I've mentioned before how I get sentimental. Like, there's no other like pieces of data that I'm like sentimentally attached to as if it was a real creature than there are like with Pokemon. Like, I've reset my Tamagotchi so many times. Oh fuck, I gotta feed my Tamagotchi. We gotta wrap this up. He's been sleeping with the light on for hours.
That was real. That just happened. So there you go.
Ah, fuck. You know, doesn't it suck how, like, if you come home and somebody's pooped all over the place and fell asleep, you can't clean up the poop. You can't wake them up. Anyway, Tamagotchi jokes.
Just went a little too far.
Well, once your Tamagotchi falls asleep, you can't clean up its poop. It just has to sleep in its own filth until it naturally wakes up.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's obnoxious.
Doesn't happen in the Pokemon universe. You can clean your Pokemon up. Anyway, do you think putting them in the Pokeballs or the PC is equivalent to sleep? Like, if you put them in for 8 hours, they don't need to sleep?
When you put them in, doesn't it like recover their like health and stuff too?
In the No.
I think so.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. It doesn't even recover their status.
It recovers their... Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it absolutely does.
We'll have to look it up. Let's save this argument for the listeners us to... Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Justin, you're a phenomenal, fantastic artist. And
that's such a nice thing to say.
You are. You've said before that I inspired you to become an artist when we were a kid, and that's humbling.
I mean, it's absolutely the truth.
You've in every manner surpassed me, like in every way, and it's phenomenal, like the type of art you make. And
Thanks,
you've been
man.
doing like comics and some commissions and stuff for a while now, right?
I've been doing these things for a while now. You ain't wrong.
If our listeners want a picture of their dope new Pokemon team that they're suddenly imagining at work in their cubicle,
actually kind of a forte of mine,
where can they go to get this?
If they were to like eagerly desire an image of themselves as a Pokemon trainer along with their Pokemon team, they could go to my website, which is jbaillustration.com.
So that's Justin B. Addison is how you remember the JBA.
Right.
JBA
illustration.
Just B A illustration.
Just baillustration.com. Was I double checking my website during this? Yes. Is it illustration or is it illustrations? It's singular. jbaillustration.com. You can go there. You can look at what I got. See if it's like interesting to you. You can email me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to draw for you.
Yeah, go check it out, please. It's super fucking cool. Like,
thanks, man.
You're the best artist. Like, it's so great.
Yeah, holy shit.
The best. That's the greatest compliment.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said. I'm okay.
Please show him some support and get yourself a some snazzy art.
A really dope drawing by me of you, or really anybody.
Or anything.
Well, now, yeah, let's face it. I've drawn.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast. I hope you come back again soon. That's both to you, Justin, and the listeners.
Awesome.
If you want to hear more in between now and the next time the next Silph Radio comes out, I urge you to check out our other 2 podcasts. Fair Point Podcast, as in that's a fair point. It's not one word. It's not Fair Point. A lot of times people spell it Fairpoint Podcast, like it's the podcast from Fairpoint, Michigan, or whatever. That's a fair point. Fair Point Podcast and Fair Enough Podcast, which is, it's not Fair Point, but it's fair enough. And if you enjoy Silph Radio, you're bound to enjoy several episodes of those 2 shows. So I hope you check them out. Craig is in every fucking episode. Jeremy is in several. It's a lot of fun, and you guys will enjoy it. And, you know, they come out when Silph Radios aren't coming out. You can find all this stuff at www.secretroommultimedia. That's secretroommultimedia.com. Secretroommultimedia.com. There's podcasts, comics, fucking videos, music, all sorts of shit. And we hope you enjoy what you find.
Uh-huh.
Please leave us a review and a rating on iTunes. Please subscribe. Please go to our Facebook page and like the shit out of that page. Hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And hey, if you want your thoughts to be included in Silph Radio episodes, go to our subreddit, r/Silph Radio. Yes, we have a subreddit. And a lot of times we will reach out to the listener base and be like, hey, we're about to be talking about Porygon soon, or Nurse Joy soon. Why don't you let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, theories that you want us to pay lip service to, and we totally will. So hit us up on the Reddit or start your own discussions. Be part of the growing community. And
Word.
Yeah, fucking here's to 49 episodes.
Golly
is right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Next episode's a big one. It's episode 50.
Here we go.
For the first time in a very, very, very long time, we have a brand new guest host. So it's going to be a new brand of fun. And we're going to be covering something very iconic, nostalgic, and fun for our 50th episode. I don't want to tell you what it is. You're going to have to wait and hear the episode, but it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. So thank you so much. Like, sincerely, a heartfelt thank you. Everybody that listens to this podcast, and it is sentimental to me. So, like, that's why it gets sentimental sometimes, because this is my life. And
he's literally crying right now. It's
literally
kind of embarrassing for me. So.
I've managed to learn to keep my composure while crying about Pokemon, because I have to for my work. So there's just tears street. It's like in an anime when the tears are
very romantic and manly. Don't get me wrong. It's just like a single tear dripping from his left eye, going straight down. Wow,
like a faucet,
constantly flowing, never ending.
So, from the secret room, I'm Nathan K.
And I'm Justin Addison.
And don't you forget about me. Awesome.